You look beautiful, the natural light.
Well,
Hello, everyone. You can help heal yourself through your senses. I'm Peaceful Nick the Medium, joined by the wonderful and amazing Aunt Jen. We are constantly on a self love and self healing journey. Welcome in. Say hello when you join. We are happy you are here. Please say hi when you pop in and let us know you are here. How are you today, Aunt Jen?
I'm doing very well. I'm just kind of riding the waves. You know, it's been warm where I'm at, and then there was actually hail last night, a storm, and
What?
thunder. Yeah. And so I'm like, yeah. So I'm just like, okay, there's just a lot going on. So I'm just kind of riding it, I would say.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really unusual.
hmm And then it's kind of staying kind of tame right now, and then it's going to heat up again. But yeah, it's kind of cooled off. It went like from real warm to like down to cool, exactly into a hailstorm. It was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that's
So
not so unusual for NorCal.
yeah. What about you?
It's Florida, so it's always supposed to rain. And every app you look at is different.
Mm,
And so some says 85% chance of rain, the other app says 0% chance of
right.
rain. It's a lot more humid than it should be at this time of year. Like it's like July humidity, so it
Mhm.
should be raining. But you know, things are you know things are going. Things are
Yeah.
going.
We have a full moon happening in a couple days. And, I think there's been a lot. I don't know about anybody else, but I know for me, I've definitely been feeling a lot this month. And there's two full moons. And, sometimes when we're working through a lot of stuff, it just, you're in that space before it kind of breaks out. And so it's sorting, moving through, sorting. How do we talk to ourselves? How are we treating ourselves through it? What are we observing? What are we comparing ourselves to versus someone else? So there's a lot as general. I mean, there really is a lot. We can always find that in general, and I do feel like there is a lot energetically, with a lot of stuff going on. And people, I think it's a lot of shedding, and I think maybe we're having a difficult time with it, some more than others. But I think it's a big calling for a shedding, and so that becomes kind of heavy and a lot.
I think you're right. And I want to talk about the full moon coming on Sunday. It's a blue moon because it's the second full moon in a calendar month, which you mentioned. And it's for second chances and new beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've been working on something professionally, personally, relationally, this is a time for a second chance. That doesn't mean forgive people for mean things and take them back. It means because people will misinterpret what they want to hear. It
Mm-hmm.
means a second chance to start again on some journey. And that could mean a variety of things. And so it's important. I feel like we are in a lull before the full moon, and then we're going to be projected into the stratosphere, so to say.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I feel aligned with that.
And I think it's important that we pay attention to things that are happening. Hi, Vivian. Hi, Gina. Hello. Everyone pop in and say hello.
Good morning, ladies.
I do want to mention that the YouTube algorithm has changed significantly over the past few months. All likes, all comments, all shares are very helpful. The spiritual community has not seen as much action on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube because we're not talking about horrible, terrible things in the news,
Right.
and the algorithm feeds people all the horrible, clickbaity, awful things. And I and Aunt Jen, we have agreed that we don't want to talk about all those horrible, terrible things, the politics, all of that stuff that's happening in the news. You all need a safe place to come and just learn about healing. And so please help us continue to get
Mm-hmm.
the information out. and by clicking like. It doesn't cost anything to comment. It doesn't cost anything to click like. If you'd like to send a super chat or sticker or become a member, that's fine. But we do really appreciate every comment, every like, every click, every share.
Thank you. And subscribe if you're not already on our channels. Like, it definitely helps. But yeah, the algorithms will try and keep us out. Yeah, together, the energy, like, we can shift that.
Exactly. So today we're talking about the senses and healing through the senses. Can you kind of explain what that means?
Well, first of all, like, I learned about this particular subject through the study of Ayurveda, which is the science of life, which it's over 5,000 years old. And I personally enjoyed the study of it. I found it easy to put into my own life. And actually, I found it easy to make sense. So real quick overview, it's really just about, we're made up of the elements: fire, air, water, and earth. So, I mean, I think we can all relate to saying that's possible. So one of the subjects that we talk about is healing through the senses. And what that kind of means is being able to tap in and use your own senses to help yourself heal. And then also, I think that even, furthermore, is like maybe just also the awareness, meaning that, like, the awareness of a sense and how that can help you. And so that I can talk about that we'll talk about that in a couple different ways of, like, kind of today's society and how that can be to something, even bigger. But, just taking the first thing, like, I keep reminding myself being on this, Jennifer, don't look at Nicole, even though, like, I can't help it. Like, I'm sorry, like, staring at this green, but then it just makes my eyes look on. I'm like, we don't need all that. So I'm trying to help with the process. So we'll start with sight. And so, like, even just the first thing of, like, to talk about it here and then go in depth, because I do teach courses on this, is that, like, what are you taking in with your sight? So what are you taking in with your sight on a daily basis? And how do you think that's impacting you? Meaning, if you're sitting there watching violent movies with a lot of violence and scary stuff going on, then that's might have something that will affect you with regards to your nervous system, your body, like what you're kind of taking in. So the opposite can be. So if you're having a lot going on, like, you can heal through the senses of your sight by looking at something different, by changing that approach, by even just putting something on your desk at work that, like, you can visually see, that, like, is your whole beautiful Hawaii that you go to once a year, right? Whatever that kind of looks like. And so that's just an overall real quick view of, like, this one of the senses. And so I thought that, like, we could talk about that, because that is another way of taking your power back. And taking the power back for you to be able to help yourself to heal, and your senses are a part of you. So, like,
and I agree, and I'll show everyone. So I have little trinkets. I have, my little Yoda statue, because, do or do not, there is no try. I have an angel my husband gave me. I have all these little trinkets. I have a beautiful rhinoceros from my wonderful client, Lucille. I have a crow. My crow's back there because it kept falling off my desk, but I have a crow from another client. But I painted this huge painting for me to focus on when I do my mediumship readings. And I'll just show everybody my big mess. But that's my space mural that I painted on canvas, so I wouldn't have to repaint my whole wall. But so, yes, I think sight's important. And the senses, if you've ever been to a theme park, you will notice, like, because I go to Disney, everybody knows I'm healing my inner child. You walk down Main Street, they pump out the smell of cinnamon, like cinnamon rolls. They pump out the smell. And you can see visually everything's perfect. They do a super clean every night, so everything's beautiful. You see that big castle. So that brings me to smell. People forget how important smell is. And hello to Holly, Gina, Dandy Ann, or Diane. Sorry if I messed that up. Manx Girl, Alma, and Vivian. So hello, everyone. Uh-oh. Are you frozen?
No, I thought you were still talking, and then you're sorry.
Oh, no.
I was like, okay, and like you talked about like
Smell. I wanted to ask you
yes,
about
smell is
smell.
a good one. Yes, and so that you can find out ones that work for you, like that can help to uplift. There's actually scents that are uplifting, right? So using that. Taste is another one, and I wanted to like talk about taste really quickly because so many people we have problems with anxiety, and we have problems with just spinning and doing different things. And one of the things is there's of course lots of things that add to it, but when you're generally having a panic attack or you are spinning in some kind of a way, you are out of your body. And so one of the things is you want to bring yourself back into your body. So I've heard different things that it's worked, like carrying sour candy in your purse or your, somewhere on your belongings to be able to put that in, like drinking some water. But even like thinking about like the senses of like what we use in trauma, because I work with a lot of trauma, and it's like we talk about like what are the 4 things that you can see, what are the 3 things you can hear, what are the 2 things you can smell, so it's like right there, it's already using those senses to help bring you back into yourself, into the moment, so that you can actually like, okay, how do I handle the situation, or what's actually going on, or being able to see what's happening. So using our senses to be able to bring us back into our body, because we're not in our body at the moment that we're spinning like that, having a panic attack.
Right. And let's ask everyone, what is your favorite scent? What is your favorite smell? What makes you happy and feel good? And I want to mention Vivian said she stepped out this morning and the first thing she saw was a rainbow, which is wonderful because, storms moved through NorCal yesterday. So that makes sense. Or last night. So what is everyone's favorite scent? I like citrus smells, orange, lemon, anything citrusy. Lavender, I love the smell of, but it makes me tired. So lavender, I keep in the bedroom. Citrus, I keep in my office to keep me, awake and alert. So what about you, Aunt Jen?
Well, I just was thinking about you, right, as you're saying that, because those are actually exactly what those 2 scents are doing. So the citrus is invigorating. So you're using the scents for you. Exactly. So I like to use the same thing. So I'll use a citrus when I'm looking to be able to be uplifted and getting that energy. I love the smell of lavender, and it doesn't make me too sleepy. I enjoy the state that it can put my mind being able to be in. I love the smell of rose, like just that real deep smell. Like I love the smell of cinnamon. That's actually apparently a big scent for men, is they love the smell of cinnamon.
Yeah. And vanilla.
Yes. Yes. So like those are some of my scents that I totally enjoy and find myself using even in the moments of like being distracted, of like just taking in a scent of an oil or of something, whatever that looks like. I mean, everyone's peeled an orange before. I mean, that scent is like magical. So you can peel an orange and you can make your own. You don't have to spend all kinds of money. You can just add it to a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of water. Like there's different things that you can do to be able to create that scent for yourself or in the moment. What is the scent that's the closest for you to be able to stimulate yourself?
So. Yeah, I love the smell of a freshly peeled orange. I remember one time I was having company and I chopped up some oranges and lemons and put them in a bowl on my counter. And then used the little scraper to scrape the rind a little to release the scents and the oils. And one of the people who came over to my house said, "Why do you have a cut up bowl of lemons and oranges?" And I'm like, just breathe through it. Mm-hmm. Breathe through it.
Yep, exactly.
Because I don't want to always spray horrible toxic sprays in my house to make it smell good.
Yeah.
There are natural things. And I want to say hi to some people. And Gina said she hates scents. Carol said hello and she likes grape. Lily said she likes Fabuloso. She loves clean smells. I have some Fabuloso downstairs. Manx Girl said lilacs and rose.
Mm.
Gina said she misses the smell of her bird that passed away. Oh, bless your bird. Carol said grape oils, and Wisdom Seeker said, hello, beautiful ladies. Hello, everyone.
Wow.
I want to say thank you so much to Wisdom Seeker, because I bought an orchid and she knows how to take care of them. And that's the only reason I bought one again, because I always fail at that, or it's a challenge, I'll say. And she's been helping me. And I did get scissor happy and cut a root off that was dead this morning. And she had to tell me to put cinnamon on it to keep the fungus from growing. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
So I just want to thank Wisdom Seeker for her guidance so I can keep this plant alive.
Yes, girl. Thank you.
Alma said eucalyptus. I love eucalyptus.
I love eucalyptus.
Hang a whole bunch of it in my shower.
Yeah.
I had eucalyptus in my shower for a very, very long time. I probably should get some more, but you got to get the good.
Amazing. Yeah. Jasmine. I love the smell of jasmine.
Oh, I love the smell.
I love the smell. I was thinking about that too. Like sometimes the smell doesn't match up. So it just doesn't always match up. I love the smell of a toasting of a bagel, but it doesn't always taste as good as it smells to me. But I love the smell of a toasting of a bagel.
Oh, it's so comforting. I love it.
So we're talking about smell, right? So there's the different senses that you can use to be able to help heal yourself when you're not even thinking. I mean, we just mentioned a few of the scents, and I mean, there was joy. At least that's what I felt, right? We were talking about things that were positive per se, right? We were focusing on that. And so that is the energy of what you're putting out there. So we can pull.
I want to show something. Speaking of senses, I want to share my screen and show something. I just published this book. Now, this is the digital version here that I'm going to show. But there is a paperback version, and the paperback versions are available on Amazon. And I don't know if you can see the little side pictures here. The hard copy is going to be available any day now. Amazon has to approve it, blah, blah, blah. But these are, speaking of your senses, these are beautiful images that I've taken all across the country. And I, have 175 pages or something. And they just bring me so much peace. And I want to say they're inspired by two people. One is my husband, who told me to put the book together. The other is one of my clients in the UK called Ashley. And she has a very serious story with trauma. And she told me one day when I was giving her a reading that clouds heal her. And so whenever I post pictures of clouds on my stories on Instagram and Facebook, I think of Ashley every single time, because her story is very serious. And that's why I have so many pictures of the sky, because of Ashley. And I was talking to my husband one day and I said, I don't know what to do with all these pictures. He said, put it in a book and call it Sky. And so I wrote Sky Inspire to inspire people.
Yeah.
And not one bit of AI and not one filter, nothing like that was used. These are actual photographs I took from coast to coast. The cover photo is at Half Moon Bay in California. And so there are pictures from Northern California, Southern Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, Florida, Tampa, Disney World. Not anything that you can decipher that it's Disney World about, though. Just like trees and the sky and stuff. So the senses are important to me too. And it's very healing to step out of this techie world. We really need to get back to basics. And the senses is a really good way to get back to basics. Cooking from scratch. I got this in a reading the other day. I was giving a woman a reading. Her mother came through in the reading and said, go back to basics. And then I was sitting in the power meditating the other day, and my guides were like, everybody needs to go back to basics. We need to know how to make biscuits from scratch. We need to know that it's okay to have a very ordinary meal with, some pasta and cut up some, onions and tomatoes and throw some cheese in it. That's okay. You don't have to go buy all this prepackaged junk. Whole healthy foods you cook at home. 98% of my meals I eat at home because I work from home most of the time. So back to basics. The sense of a homemade biscuit is so different than popping one out of a can. Now, I'm not putting anybody down that pops a biscuit out of a can at all. I'm not at all putting anyone down. I was a mom. I popped a lot of biscuit cans in my life. But when you have the time, knead the dough, smell the dough, feel the dough, put the fresh butter on it, maybe a little honey. That's a nice snack. A biscuit with some butter and honey. And
I think that you just said it really right there at the end part, which is like, come back to basics. And then you're like not doing, like being able to have to go through the parts. And that's, I think, the big disconnect is that people don't have the time. And it's like, no, now's the time to make the time.
Right.
To be able to get back into basics like you're talking about, and like being one with your creations of whatever that may be, starting with your food, starting with, everything, your senses. And so I love that you said that, because it's like we get in our own way because we stop ourselves because of the million things that we have to do. Well, maybe you need to reevaluate what's on your priority list, right? Going back again of like what that is and how can we make that? Because just like you said, there'll be a lot of people that's like, oh my gosh, talking about making fresh biscuits, I can never do that. It's like, first of all, then maybe that's not you. So you could turn it into something different where you can make fresh vegetables, right? And bake them in an oven that you don't even have to do anything. You put them in. Like, so it's like, there's variations of it. And it's a good point of like getting back to basics and getting back and making the time for you.
Because agree 100%. Because of what Vivian said here.
Very true.
We are brainwashed fast, quick. The grind. I was in the grind. I raised 2 boys that played all the sports you can imagine. I was going, you remember, I was going from here to there to everywhere constantly. And I had 2 jobs most of the time. I almost always had 2 jobs outside of the house, and I'm trying to manage all of that. So I know the grind. And my husband was a coach of 3 sports. So he was gone a lot coaching because, you got to make money. You got to feed your kids and pay the mortgage, blah, blah, blah. And when I had the time, I would make things from scratch, like on a 3-day weekend or something. And it doesn't have to be biscuits. That's just an example. It can be just buy some green beans and touch them, hold them in your hands. We don't touch our food anymore. We don't connect with the earth. And if you say you live in a high-rise apartment in Manhattan and you're not touching your food by hand, preparing it because, you have a busy corporate job or whatever, we are missing a huge part of what is real. And we're living in this fake, false world of technology and this and that and all the modern stuff. And I love air conditioning and electricity. I'm not complaining.
Right.
And the internet. I'm not complaining that these things exist.
Right.
I want electricity and air conditioning and the internet. I want to have all those things, but I also want people to understand we have to get back to nature. Mm-hmm. And when we don't touch our food, when we prepare it by hand, that takes away our appreciation and connection. And so another sense is taste.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I thought you were going to say touch too.
And
you're talking about touch. Really, like they are.
Either one. Go for it.
Well, I mean, so touch, touch, taste. But touch, I was thinking about, because you're talking about it, like it's so powerful and healing to use touch, and thinking about like, you know, we're using our fingers and our hands so much to be using on our phones. Like, what are you using to counteract that for yourself? Like, even just grabbing, you know, the stress balls, you can grab some clay. Clay's fabulous, right? Just to be able to just use some clay in your hands, like touching your food, like being able to, like, I know it's not appropriate. And so I'm glad that most of my time is by myself, but like, I generally always eat everything with my hands. Like, I like to, and it's like, there's actually been stuff even out there talking about it. It's like, you're using this metal thing to have your food on. That's now, and it's just like, wait a second. Right? Yes. And so it's like, it just is because of society and what it says. And of course, the way, you know, you need to be a little respectful when you're with other people, obviously, yet the touch of actually just eating your own food, feeding yourself with your hands, like giving yourself, we talk about it, the self La Bianca is the self massage. So it's like giving yourself a massage to be able to, like, you know, we're always looking outside of ourselves, and that's great. A massage from someone else, like, can hit certain areas, but like being able to put some oil or using, we talk about, like, you can use loofah. There's different things, like there's rougher ones that you use for different doshas that you have, which is, again, we're talking about Ayurveda today. So I'm trying to remember to stay in my whatever's going on. But you know, a personal touch of doing a massage for yourself. Like, and it doesn't always have to be in a sexual way. It's literally just connecting with your skin. It's our number one organ, right? So it's like, there's all these different things. And then touch can be like thinking about like what you touch that brings you joy, things that don't. Like, I mean, if you think about it, like there's a lot of stimulation, right? So people need things for their hands, right? To help themselves with their hands. Well, then find things to be able to use for yourself, and can actually be really powerful and really healing through touch.
Right. Exactly. And touch is important, and physical touch to yourself and physical touch by others, appropriate, of course, is really important. I'll give an example. I have two wonderful, beautiful, amazing granddaughters. They're almost a year apart exactly, from each of my sons and their wives. And my youngest 2-month-old was here the other day, and I'm blessed enough to be able to visit with both of my granddaughters regularly. And that little baby just snuggles right in to my chest, and oh, I'm going to cry. The feeling of that vulnerable, sweet, perfect little being, just trusting and having because babies and children can feel your energy.
Yes.
And the fact that they can just snuggle right in and be so cozy. There's no, and it could be, you know, a friend's baby. It doesn't have to be my own grandchild, but I'm just giving the example of that touch, that feeling, that energy exchange is so important. It's just such a spiritual experience. You know, you have a great niece that you snuggle on, and she's so beautiful, and has the best name ever.
Yes. We have our own little Princess Leia in real life.
Yeah. And so that feeling when you hold her is just like, oh, this is glorious. This is pure love.
Yes. And I think that you tapped on something that I believe can be really true too, is like, you know, the bond, you know, sometimes people, you can say, even if you think about somebody that maybe you've connected with on an embrace, and it's because the connection is going on a deeper level. And the more that someone can be able to let go and be able to really be and exchange that energy, sometimes that's the deeper people can go. So that's why I think also the babies can like release like that, because they do feel safe. They do feel your actual energy of the love, of the safety, of the comfort, and it makes them be able to like go into it a lot deeper. So yes.
I love it.
And that is definitely touch. And it definitely is a part of thinking about nieces. Like my great niece my brother got a sandbox, but he put rice in it. It's okay. He cleans it. He loves it. He doesn't even care. He loves being a grandpa. It's so wonderful to watch him.
That sounds like a nightmare to clean.
Oh no, I watched him. So he has fake grass outside on his little balcony area, and he just sweeps it. and he just moves like, so he doesn't even care. Like, he's found a little system. I mean, this kid, she loves it. Like, so she just has all this rice, and then he's done water as well. But like the rice, like for tactile for her.
Yeah.
Just the, like, I mean, it's like, that's why it's also, yes, it's such a great thing with regards to touch. But also, I believe that the experience that she may be having with the touch and with her senses is being taken to another level because he's not stressed about it.
Right.
Which can be like something, I mean, think about it. Like, I mean, that sounds like a big stress, right? Like, it's not saying, but he's found a way to be like, I don't care, because I get so much joy out of this that it's irrelevant of what I need to do to clean it up per se. Right. And so it's like, and so the energy and the time that they have together doing this is like magical. Right. And it's helping to really ingrain a lot of great things into her that on an unconscious level as well.
Right. And so it is a very big difference between when I was a young mother in my late 20s, early 30s, and having to think about cleaning up a mess and go to work and do the dishes and blah, 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 feed the kids. And very different experience than when you are just spending quality time with your grandchildren without the stress. Anybody in the audience that has grandchildren versus children, what is your experience on how that feels, the difference? Because to me, I'm more relaxed. I'm not as I honestly do not know how I did not end up in an institution when I was raising my kids. I was anxious 24/7. I was a wreck almost constantly. Because I was constantly trying to work, keep up, pay the bills, clean, cook, take care of the kids, take them here, take them there, and it was like, plus I had very bad anxiety on top of it. I honestly, without any drugs or alcohol, don't know how I survived that. But now as a grandma, a granny, a nona, it's a very different vibe.
Yes. I've seen it. I'm not a parent or a grandparent. I'm an aunt and a great aunt, but I've actually witnessed it through my brother of being like, there's similarities, watching that similarity of how much he loved his babies. And now these are different, but it is very different because he gets to just have this structured 2 to 3 hours when he's watching her or whatever it is. And he's not fully responsible all the time, and he doesn't, right? He gets to have fun and also teach her stuff and do things. And so, yeah, I would hope to say, that there is a difference. I mean, of course, it's not going to be for some that are out there having to raise their grandchildren because a parent hasn't, needs some extra help and different things. That's totally a different situation. Yet, it still is a beautiful process, however you're involved. And we were talking about touch, right?
Right. Let's talk about mindfulness. First, I want to thank Mangold for always putting all of the links in the chat, shouting out Aunt Jen's channel.
Oh, thank you, Mangold.
And all of my products and specials. I had a cancellation for tomorrow, so I actually have a mediumship reading open tomorrow, and I still have the all caps spring 2026 coupon for 20% off. So I had somebody, they didn't cancel, they rescheduled for next week. So I do have one opening tomorrow, I think, unless it's been booked since we got on here. And then I have limited availability in June because I'm running my Mars contest. So, but the coupon is up spring 2026. And thank you so much, Mangold.
Yes, Mangold.
And so we have, these physical senses, but we also have these other senses that aren't physical. So we can use mindfulness practices through our senses, and we can also have our spiritual awareness and intuitive experiences. So in mediumship, we can do something called sitting in the power, which is similar to, but not the same as a meditation. And so sitting in the power is expanding your awareness. You do some breathing, you expand your awareness. Anybody who's taken any of my classes is aware of this. It's also in my books. Not the Sky book, the other books.
She's got a lot. This girl is just full of.
Hey, in this day and age, you got to have income from multiple sources.
Yeah, well, you are slaying it, sister. So
well,
we are very lucky.
I appreciate
all
that.
your offerings.
So the spiritual senses are when you raise your awareness and you lift your consciousness up above. That's how I visualize it. I would imagine most people, their awareness goes upward, and it's not going to go down to the floor, right? That doesn't make sense, but who knows? Maybe somebody out there does. But we lift our awareness up and we invite your guides to come in and give you information. Now that's an like extrasensory perception, ESP, telepathy. That brings me to the telepathy tapes, which is highly recommend. Everybody needs to listen to all of those episodes. But that's a sense that is, to me, and I'll let you speak to your experience. My spiritual experiences changed my life in a way I never, ever, ever, ever imagined. Ever, never, ever imagined. You've known me for 40 years. Did you ever think when I was inventing math games?
No.
When I was in college, and we were working at the academy.
No.
That I was going to be a medium. Like it wasn't even a thought.
No.
And now it's probably the most important thing in my life. As far as, not my family, but just personally.
Yeah. My
spiritual experiences changed everything about how I live my life, the way I speak to people, the way my authenticity, my striving to be a better person. And I hope that everyone that goes on any type of spiritual journey can understand that these senses, your spiritual senses, are a billion times more sensitive and helpful than your physical senses. Physical senses are important, but your spiritual body is the most important.
Yes.
So what types of spiritual experiences have you had that have been helpful to you?
Yeah, I mean, you said so much. So, that was that. No, I didn't mean that in that kind of way. I just meant so much relatability. I definitely would, explanation point after everything that you've stated. The spiritual piece of the mindfulness is probably the most important aspect, at least for me, as far as one of the senses goes. And it's a personal relationship. But I mean, I was always exploring, but mine really took a turn in 2005. So it's 2026 now. That's when I learned to meditate. So that's when I learned to sit and stay with my thoughts and not go anywhere. And that is where things changed because we're always having the repetitiveness. And so then you're kind of stuck, just sitting there with yourself and there's nowhere to go. And you can't escape the thoughts and the being with yourself and having the different thoughts as they shift and as they change and as they move and as they grow. And I just happen to be somebody who now I look at it as it was my job. So it's I had to do it. Thank God. It wasn't I'll just go ahead and do it. That actually didn't happen that way for me. It was kind of this is part of your job and you're going to do it. And that was I didn't fight it, but now hence looking back, right. And it's it's been the greatest sense of connecting and being in and having these conversations with myself, listening to the conversations, having the dialogues with the spirit guides, with the connections of the downloads, and then actually visually seeing it later, and seeing how these things come together as far as that goes with myself. So, I mean, I just don't always talk about these things because it's out there. It's a little whereas the other senses are a lot more applicable. We can grab onto them, right? They're tangible and we can use those, but that's probably the strongest sense, I think, that can be such a it's the double-edged sword, because it can also be the one that drives you the most crazy. Yet if you stop running from yourself and you actually sit with yourself, it will shift. But it doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen with anything other than love and patience. and
Absolutely.
understanding and a process, and realizing that the process is something that why would you want to miss any of the process? Like, it's just because you're just trying to get to the end. Well, I just want to get to the end of feeling better. It's like, yeah, but you're missing all the juice of discovering who you are and what's happening in the in between. Like, you don't want to do that. Trust and believe. Like, and there's many ways for mind to create mindfulness. I mean, I've been trying to figure out, I'm always thinking of new verbiage to see how it'll land or how it'll stick. And I really believe that mindfulness is really being in the present moment. So whatever way you can be in the present moment, whether it be guided, whether you're out in nature, literally being present with the flower, like whether you're sitting there repeating a mantra, whatever the process is, it's just being present in the moment. But we're trying to always make it look a certain way. And it's not. Even trying to make the fancy, like, set up a nice place for you to sit. That's still not going to make the thoughts become pretty and nice.
Right. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yes. I want to speak to that. But Donna, I put the link in there. It's just go to my website, peacefulnickthemedium.com, and the coupon is there on the screen. Thank you, Mangold. For some reason, I can't tag you from StreamYard, but I said, Donna, so you can grab that. So yes, it's all yours if you want it. I can't even chef's kiss enough to what you just said. You can make the background look pretty. That doesn't mean you're pretty in here, right? You can, like, people, I've used filters many times on my social media, just a little one, nothing too crazy, but just enough to knock out those little 55-year-old lines, or if I didn't sleep enough. But some people really, really, really have a facade. And I think that is, I think it's probably a judgment on my part. I'm really trying to step away from the judgment, but I'm still challenged by that. I still am like, you're so fake, you're so phony, you're so inauthentic, blah, blah, blah. And it bothers me because I want people to be authentic. And maybe because, we've all been lied to about so many things through our families, through our friends, through our loved ones, through the media, through the government, from every level, we've been lied to, and about so many different things, a variety of things. And I crave authenticity. And when something doesn't seem authentic to me, I just can't get past it.
Yeah.
I can't allow that energy into my world. And so this, beautiful background, there are creators who have beautiful backgrounds and beautiful homes and fabulous things.
Yeah.
And then you come to find out, oh, their persona is nothing like who they actually are. Yeah. And not just on social media, but everywhere. Right. And I struggle with that.
Yeah.
Like,
it's our personal, I look at it as like our personal journey per se, right? Because they're definitely struggling on the one side. Yeah. And then on the other side, like, I look at it as like, I'm very street smart and very progressive in so many different ways. And in other ways, I'm naive. And I say that for the fact that I used a filter one time. I can still remember, went to Stonestown Gallery, Yumi and Trisha, and she took a picture. And I remember seeing myself and being like, whoa, I look good. And then being like, but that's not me. And like,
that's still on my Facebook page, actually, because I hardly ever post there. That picture's still there.
Really? So like, that always has been like, it's just an anchor for me of like, like you've done stuff. Like, I don't like filters. Like, even though like there's sometimes I'm like, oh girl, what is going on? And it's like, I'm not, this is not a judgment about anybody. This is my story. So I'm owning me. I'm not into them. And so I automatically always assume nobody's using, I don't even get it, that everyone's filtering and changing everything. And then I start getting in my own head thinking, are people thinking that about me? And then I'm like, well, that's not my problem. Like they can think whatever they want. I know I'm not using a filter, and that's what's important to me. Like I'm not using AI to generate whatever. Not that there's something wrong with that either. Like for me, I have to stay authentic with myself and what that means to me, authenticity. And I think that a lot of people, when they're out there and they're putting on a show of some sort, and they're wearing a mask, and they're masking against themselves first. And so it's like, whether or not whatever they're doing and fooling everybody else, like they're not fooling themselves. And eventually, like that kind of place is going to show up, yet it's just showing you again, like for you and that experience, it's showing you again how much your authenticity is important to you, and how much you're not only tapping into it, but you're making it even grander and bigger in your life. And it's like getting stronger. And so it's a process, and being honest and being like, I judge people, and I see, like, that's because there's still parts of us that judge ourselves when we were doing different things and doing that, and just having our own judgment, because we know we can tap into it and go further down the rabbit hole, and you can see what's going on.
Right.
So it's all, I think, is part of the journey.
It is a part of the journey, and I have used filters for my social media, but I try not to make it look like a filter, like I look like a different person. I just want to smooth out.
Yeah, and that's great. I think people should do what they want to do. That's the whole point. If someone wants to use a filter, I'm not saying it's wrong. To me, I have a hard time looking at that, being like, that's not me. Like, I don't want to, you know what I mean? That's my own relationship that I have with myself. Like, it has nothing to like do with it. Sometimes I wish I would. Like, I could use a filter. I could use a little help, but it's like,
I'm beautiful just the way you are.
Well, we all are, right? That's really what it is. And there's something disconnects in my head. I can't explain it. It's kind of the same thing as like the fate. Like, I just have never, yeah, and that's a whole other story. Like, my teenage years, yeah, I got my nails done. I did, like, but I just didn't do yeah. Anyway, for me, I'm just, it's enough. I'm trying to just accept myself for, instead of like trying to run away from myself. And maybe that's my idea of that, and not saying that is what someone else is doing. If they are doing that, that's not for me to say what their story is behind that. Maybe somebody was really having a hard time, and like that makes them be able to show up, and then they'll slowly, like, that's part of their process. Like, that's
right.
Great.
Everybody has a process.
Yes.
Gina said, I was masking hard my whole life. It's exhausting. It is exhausting. Now, I'm going to make an assumption that Gina means masking in the way that you have to act a certain way in front of certain people. And that is why inauthentic, phony people trigger me so bad. Because and I'm not talking about just in general public, if I'm like out and about. I'm talking about people who I'm related to, people I know personally, people who don't really entirely know who they are, and that's their journey. And I'm not trying to judge their journey. I just can't be exposed to somebody who is pretending to be something they're not.
Right.
And there's two different sides of that. One is sometimes we have to pretend to be around somebody and be a certain way just to save our own peace. And I think that's what Gina's referring to.
Yes.
When we go around people who are judgmental, who have certain expectations, who only love you conditionally, which we've talked a lot about, that is a very different mask.
Yes.
Than a mask of, I am pretending to be something I'm not, so everyone else sees me this way. Those are two different things in the same, that sometimes get labeled the same, but they're two very different things. And there's little, sidebars to all
There's
of that.
Always, isn't there? I mean, and I think that, that again, like we talk about, right, this podcast that we do is so many different things, but a lot of it also is our friendship. Okay. And right when you said that, I mean, I'm sure we've talked about it more often than not, but I think that's the number one reason why you and I have been friends, and the kind of friendship that we've had as long as we've had is because you and I don't know how to be anything but authentic. So it might be like, it might come across as like we'll be exhausting in a different way, but it's like, yeah, no. We're not never trying to be anyone but ourselves when we're together in general or just in the world. And
Right.
that will draw together of like-minded people being like, oh, well, this is safe. I can actually be myself here, no matter what goes on, no matter what happens. And then you go out there and experience other souls, and it's nothing like that. And then you come back to the place that is safe, because that is actually that's probably one of the most important thing is authenticity in a human being. And I pride myself on my like, this is what you get. Like, I mean, it's not
And
always.
it's a journey to get there. It's a journey
Yes.
to feel free enough to be able to be who you are all the time. It's not something that comes natural to a lot of people, especially when you come from a family of expectations and judgment. I was a classroom teacher for 20 years. I can tell you the expectations that are put on these kids by their parents. I had a student. I still to this day feel sorry for this kid. His mother was a doctor. His father was a psychiatrist. And he had a panic attack on an airplane once and never recovered. It changed his whole life because of he was the oldest child of this highly, fluty tooty family and was expected to have straight A's, was expected to be the valedictorian, was expected to be this, expect, you better be this or I'm not going to love you. And that's why he was having these panic attacks. His dad was a psychiatrist. His mom was a doctor, and they had him so messed up. And it was so bad that when it came down to salutatorian and valedictorian, which is the top people, in the class, he was 0.01 behind the other kid. And the mom and dad tried to convince the principal that he should be valedictorian because when he was a freshman, he was supposed to be in honors English. And so it should be an extra point. And see that reaction?
Yeah.
That's one example of what this kid went through. And it ruined him. And I feel so sorry for him to this day, because that is not what parenting is supposed to be. You don't put so many expectations on your kids that make them have panic attacks so bad they can't play sports anymore because they can't get on the bus with the students they've gone to school with their whole life. They can't travel with the team because their panic attack is so bad. That is and that is not that uncommon. There are kids, there's a high school in the Sunset District we know about, that is a hoity-toity high school. The suicide rate at that high school is beyond, because the expectations for these kids are so much.
Yep.
And it's not okay. Our kids shouldn't be killing themselves because they got a 3.9 GPA instead of a 4.0.
Yes.
And it's awful what happened to these kids.
It's very disheartening. And it's another reason that I keep driving my mission of, helping anyone that's trying to heal, right? Just get on the bus. Let's go. We're all just doing the same thing. Like, I just have some tools. It's not that we all just share the information, like, of what worked for you and how did you get there? And listening to people and doing, like, it's just, that's it, being completely in it. And it's just as long as there's the, dysfunctional children, like the ones that are on this, oh man, I worked with and I do work with some of those, and being able to help those they happen to be young ladies particular, like, to be able to just get themselves and be able to use that voice and they stay quiet for a little while until the voice kind of shifts and changes, but also mindfulness because of all the stress and all, it's like, there's so much that's compounded out there. That's a whole nother subject that I would love to talk about at some point, because I'm very passionate about it. And it really brings up a lot for so many different things of the pressure of, yeah.
And I want to speak to what Vivian said here. This is actually true. Getting high GPAs and high SAT scores doesn't translate into success and happiness in life. And I can tell you, there have been scientific studies on the people who got the highest SAT scores. That's why some colleges don't require them anymore. The people with the highest SAT scores do not end up being CEOs and successful entrepreneurs because they've only been taught to take a test. They've been taught to memorize things. They haven't been taught how to navigate. Like you say, you have street smarts. The street smart people are the most successful people, period, because they understand how people work. They can critically think. They're not just, I know that photosynthesis and cellular respiration are opposite functions of each other, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, I'd like to believe that. I mean, right? Like, I mean, I would personally. I mean, I never took the SATs. So, yeah, I mean, it never even crossed my mind because I just knew that was not going to be a path for me and was not forced upon me because my parents, I think, thought the same thing. Like, oh, where are those girls? We got her out barely. Like, so, yeah. And my happiness grows. I mean, success, like, I mean, it's all in how we relate it. Like, success is like, okay, how did I get myself through today? That's how I mean, what do you evaluate success? What is successful to somebody? You know, what you have to acquire, like that personally is not success to me. Like success is me. How much do I have myself? How do I show up out there? How am I like contributing? Like, how am I growing individually, like on an individual basis? So, I mean, I would love to believe that because then that would mean, you know, something completely different, at least for someone like myself who didn't fall under the category of SATs and GPAs and all that kind of stuff. And I think I've gotten pretty far per se and amazingly how, right? And
Right.
in a completely different way of society.
It's, you know, we have to understand, you know, coming a little bit full circle about the senses, we have to get back to basics. And I can tell you this, and Vivian has an opinion about high school, and I kind of agree. Overall, schools will become obsolete in the next decade or two. And private schools better get on board with pumping up their sports and activities and not making kids spend 8 hours a day in a classroom on a tablet or a computer, because that is taking away their senses. There have been huge studies, and actually a psychologist or doctor spoke to Congress a couple months ago and said the test scores have plummeted since all these damn tablets and computers have been in classes. I was striving so hard in my classrooms to do tangible things. I would take days and days to create activities for my students by hand that they had to do by hand. And I would say, no computers, no phones. No, we're doing everything by hand. Unless the school required a specific thing on the computer, I made them do everything by hand as much as possible. And I got in an argument with a principal at that school I was talking about earlier. I had a 6-hour interview there, and the last interview was with a principal. So you can imagine if the teacher's having a 6-hour interview with 6 different people, how much pressure there is on the kids. And the principal asked about technology in the classroom, and I said, I prefer to have less technology in the classroom, because when you have teenagers on an iPad while you're lecturing about photosynthesis and cellular respiration, they're not going to listen. And he said, well, I would argue that if you are engaging enough in your lecture, they're going to listen. Have you met a teenager?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
They don't give a crap what you're doing. If you're a teacher and they can look at their iPad, they're going to look at their iPad. They don't care what you're doing.
We didn't have any of that stuff when we were like, right? Can you imagine?
You could be shirtless and they're not going to look. They're going to look at their iPad. So
yeah,
we need to go back to tangible things.
I would look
things by hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just thinking about like bringing about the senses, like I would wrap it up, because we always go on. We start on a topic and then we go off on all these different things, and that's just us, and that's just gravy. It's great. And I would just say that, like, I love to have these conversations as like awareness. just paying attention. Like, hey, how do I use my sense? Wow, I really do listen to a lot of angry music. Maybe that's adding to my anger and not helping as much, right? Maybe I need to use it at a different time to like use that to get some expressing of some anger out. Like, right? Maybe I just stop watching so much violent shows and I wouldn't feel so violent, just seeing those different things that are kind of going on and you're just inquiring within yourself compassionately. You're not trying to have an answer that's going to change it. Like, you're just having a conversation. It's like changing the dialogue with yourself, because honestly, how do you talk to yourself? What are the conversations? What do you say? Right. So like, that's a huge one to be able to, we should talk about that. I would love to talk about
next
that.
week. We can
Let's
talk about
that.
I want to say something that you said about music and violent shows and things. And I know we're out of time, but I just want to say, I agree completely that, first of all, I love music so very much. It's a huge part of my life, and it heals me and has helped me in so many ways. Mm-hmm. And I cannot stand to watch anything violent, angry, or terrible on television. Mm-hmm. We started to watch a movie the other night, and it was just this dreadful, horrible murder chasing movie. And after like 10 minutes, I'm like, no, I'm not watching this. I can't. I'll have nightmares for a week.
No way.
The news is bad enough, which I don't watch, but when I post on my socials, I see little clips because it's everywhere. No matter who you follow, somebody's talking about it.
Totally.
And so it's okay to be aware of what's going on. And it's also okay not to watch it all the time. So very calming music, very mellow music, solfeggio, or, things that are the right frequency for you. And if you find yourself in a negative state of mind, think about what you're consuming, either by eating it, listening, seeing, feeling. What are you touching? If you're only using a fork, things like that. So that's my little wrap up. And I appreciate every like, every hello, every comment, every subscribe. All of those things are free, and they help us both. Because if we can't be here, we need the likes and the subscribes and the comments so we can be here, because it pushes us out. So we definitely appreciate that. Aunt Jen, any final thoughts?
Just to, maybe look at yourself a little differently through your senses, right? And the spiritual senses, that could be a whole nother topic. And also how we talk to ourselves is a whole nother topic. So I get excited about
we can start that next week.
Let's talk about how we talk to ourselves.
Yeah. How we talk to ourselves.
Yeah. How do you talk to yourself? I could go on. That's a huge process, but that's another awareness of ourselves that we want to avoid. But staying in the moment with the senses, I would just invite you to pay attention to your senses a little more, like just paying attention to them. And if you are somebody who does have panic attacks, anxiety a lot, like see if a couple of those touch points might actually help you. So again, as a reminder, if you're having a panic attack, find 4 things that you can see, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can touch, and just see what happens. Just see, like, you're not trying to make something happen. Just do the process and feel into it and see if something maybe shifts or changes for you.
Wonderful. And on that note, everyone, we will see you next Wednesday.
Yep.
I'm just thinking about there may be 2 weeks after that, we may have to adjust our schedule because my Mars.
We've had to adjust a few times recently because of stuff that's gone on, and that's just how it is. So when we're here, we always want to be here. And if we're not, then something in the ethers has come along that's exciting, and we'll be back.
Yeah.
That's really all it is with us.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
So much love, peace, and healing to all.
Mm.
Bye.
Bye.